Hey y'all, hey y'all. How y'all doing? Y'all good? Y'all ate today? Well, good. It's your girl Lex. Think I'm gonna drop the big and just make it Lex. I missed y'all. And I've been thinking about y'all and thinking about how I want to move forward with the podcast because, I was gonna take a hiatus and then that kinda, sorta not really happened. Who cares? But we're back and I want to try something different. I want to just tell y'all stories instead of just talking about my feelings and rambling. So, this first story it has many parts. Like, I don't know where to start. And I'm pretty sure I've told y'all bits and pieces. But today I want to just lay the whole story out, hold nothing back. How's that sound? It's good? Alright, so here we go. So I'm going to start with my last relationship and what I learned from it. So this relationship started when I was living in Augusta and I was living by myself, me and my dog. And I would take my dog out for walks and I met this neighbor that I had and we would stop and talk and chat or whatever. And then he asked me out on a date a couple of times actually, and we never just went. And I think for my birthday that year, I want to say I turned 23, I remember texting him to see if he wanted to hang out. And I don't think he knew my name, so he never responded. And like a couple of days later, he called back, was like, who is this? And I'm like, it's me. And then so probably a month after that, we finally went on a date. And he was like, I'll pick you up at 7 and we'll go out to eat and see where we go from there. So that day, I want to say I finished my hair, doing my hair. I did box braids and I finished them, took my dog out, saw him. And at that time, like, this is probably completely irrelevant, but I just didn't know how to dress. I didn't know how to wear my hair. He was Mexican. I'm black. So I didn't really know how it was going to go at all. So I got dressed and I wore flats that day. And that was like a change for me because usually I'm a heels girly. And that day I wore flats. And then so when he picked me up and he came to get me and got out of the car, I realized that we were the same height. So if I would have wore heels, I would have been over him. So, I wore flats. We went to go eat. We had a nice chat. And then we went dancing after that to this other restaurant that turns to like a nightclub. And y'all, no one had ever taken me out dancing, out to dinner, none of that. So I was smitten, to say the least. And afterwards, like after we left, the club thing and dancing, and we ended up having a song that night. I remember like looking it up and like, what's the name of this song? Because I like it. And that was our song. It's called No Se Manana. But I forgot who it was by. It's like Luis somebody. So we left there and he convinced me to spend the night with him. So I went home, let my dog out, and we finished the night, And I want to say the next day when I woke up, I was on cloud 9, but I also felt this guilt inside, right? Because I had made this promise with me and God that the next guy I had sex with was going to be a serious boyfriend. So I was like, well, let me see where this goes, right? But I was convinced to make it work, not to just see where it goes, to make it work, actually. So a couple nights in, I want to say on our 4th night in, like this relationship thing, he got off work, he came to pick me up at my apartment, we went to go get something to eat, and we came back, and we were just sitting in his truck, just chit-chatting away. And strange thing, I guess he was so relaxed and shut his eyes, and I noticed another neighbor, knocking at my door, but I wasn't in the house to answer, so I crouched down, and that neighbor went back to his house, and, it didn't seem like much, right? Until maybe a little while later, my ex, he starts cranking up his car and backing up. And I'm like, what is going on? And he was like, I thought I saw my baby mama. And sure enough, she got in the truck and just started beating the crap out of him. And I was just like, what is going on, right? So he told me to get out of the car and just go in my house, and he would handle that. And so that's what I did. And it was like remember being up all night, not sleeping, calling him, like wondering what should I do. I just didn't know what to do, right? But like I said, I'd convinced myself to make it work. And so sure thing, next day he called, and we were back like nothing happened. And so at that time he had an apartment, like he was my neighbor, but he was staying in a hotel while someone else was living in or staying in his apartment. And so I was going to go see him at his hotel room. And one morning when I left out, because he left before me, he had to go to work. And when I got up and left, there was a guy outside that wanted to stop and chat. I want to say that was maybe the 6th night, because whenever we got back after that 4th night, right, he asked me to be his girlfriend. And I said yes, I think. Heavy on the I think. So I got up in the morning. I left out, and there was a guy outside that wanted to chit chat, and he was like, oh, you can't have friends, and asked for my number. And so I gave this boy my dad's number. And he, before I even made it home and was walking my dog good, he texted me, or my dad, and my dad was like, who's this? And then the guy was like, the dude you met outside of blank blank hotel. And then my dad calls me and was like, so you did not sleep in your bed last night? And I'm like, well, no, I didn't know I had to. And he just got upset and was telling me all sorts of things, like that my ex was going to get me pregnant and leave me. And I'm just like, where is this coming from, first off? And I don't know, it's just a really weird time, a really weird thing. And me and my ex, we didn't stop seeing each other. And so soon after that, like, he went back to his his apartment. I want to say that same day. Like, a lot of things happened in that day. And so he was back in his apartment, and we were still seeing each other. And then I got a job selling insurance again. And a couple months into that, me and my ex, we moved in together. Well, he moved in with me, and we just began our lives together, basically. And for a while, I was just smitten. I was like, I've never been treated like this before. And like, I liked how I felt. I liked it, you know? And then, especially all the trauma that went into it, I liked it the first year. But then, after we made it to a year, or close around that time, I found out that this man that I'm living with was not who I thought he was. Right? Because he told me his name and his age and yada, yada, yada. Told me his story, but he got his birth certificate in the mail, and I read it. Well, he told me to read it, right, over the phone, and read it out loud to him, make sure everything matched. And so I read him his name, which wasn't the name he went by. And he was like, okay, that's cool. And I read out the age, like the birth date. And so we got off the phone, and I was like, hold up, 1977. And I remembered one of my cousins, the end of her email address used to be 77. Like, back then, people made their email addresses their names and their year of whenever they were born. And so I was like, 77, that means her age, and she's a lot older than me. And so I called him back. I was like, do you know that you were born in 1977? He was like, no. I'm like, do you know how old you are? He was like, what'd I tell you? And so basically he told me that he didn't know how old he was, or that he didn't know that he was as old as he thought he was. And it just, since that moment, nothing clicked. I was just like, I want out of this. I just wanted to be done with all of that at that moment. And I want to say this was in 2022. Yeah. So, yeah, 2022. So, yeah. And he asked me to stay. And I tried, like I said, I was convinced to make it work. So it didn't take much convincing on his part, because I was convinced in my spirit to rid myself of that guilt of sleeping with him on the first night. So anything that was going to make it work, I was going to try. And I realized that at that point, my stance was like, if he ain't cheating or beating, then it's worth working out. So I wanted to stay and work it out. And a couple months after that, I ended up wanting to get pregnant because I wanted him, like, it was very selfish of me to try to do such a thing, but I wanted him to have a kid of his own that he knew for sure was his, if that makes sense, because he definitely had doubts about his own. And I was like, well, there's no doubts with me. I'm honest and I'm not doing anything unhonest or dishonest. So, yeah. And that was very selfish of me. That was my mistake, right? And then I did get pregnant, and I was pregnant for about 2 days. And for me to be pregnant for just about 2 days, it definitely shattered me. Okay, it broke me for a while. And oh no, I guess I had to learn my lesson that you can't make choices like that for selfish reasons. That was a very selfish reason for me to do that. And the relationship didn't work out anyways. So what was said in the beginning of the relationship would have come true. And after the relationship ended, right, found out it was true for other people, right, that happened to them. And at the end of the day, I had to realize that, thank God that it did not work out. No matter how hard I wanted it to work out, no matter how hard I could try to convince myself to make it work, it just wasn't meant to be, right? So after the relationship ended, the relationship really ended because I was at a very low point in my life where I didn't want to be here anymore. I was suicidal, to say the least. I was a ticking time bomb, and I was pushing him away. And I don't know if he was trying to make it better or just, I don't know. Maybe I'll figure that out as life goes on. But I just didn't want it to get better, right? So I was content with letting everything fall apart, the relationship, my relationship with my parents, friends. I was committed to letting everything fall apart like it usually did, or so I thought, right? But it just... Well, for one, it feels so good to get that out. And I hate when I tell the story and it's like I'm catching moments of myself and I'm like, you know what? That was kind of dumb. That was not your brightest moment, sister. But, you're a fool for love sometimes. And if you fool yourself into thinking you're in love, then you're double the fool. And I was probably triple the fool, y'all. I was fooling myself, for one. But life goes on. Right? There's plenty more fish in the sea, like they always say. And as much as I wanted to hold on to that relationship and hold on to all those memories and feelings and whatever the hell else, I can't. Right? I gotta move on. I gotta let him live his life however he wants to do it. I have to live my own life. And that's just that on that. But I'm just so thankful for y'all. I just wanted to share this story because, you can be a fool all you want to. And it's okay to be the fool sometimes. But eventually you got to learn your lesson. And so I'm learning my lessons. I'm paying attention to all the patterns and mistakes and saying, you know what? I'm not going to repeat those. I'm going to do better. And so, yeah, that's the story of how I fell in love, I guess. How I thought I was in love. And maybe one day I will experience real, true love. And, that's something to look forward to. So, yeah. Anywho, I'm going to get out y'all's hair. Just wanted to share that story with y'all. Love, peace, and chicken grease. Hey, yo no se manana. That's my song. Anywho, don't go fucking up nobody's day, okay? We didn't talked about this before, okay? Stop it. Don't go fucking up nobody's day. Make their day better, okay? Bye.